Hello, bonjour, 你好，Anya, hola，我是你的 boy CP。Hello, say hello. No, get that garbage out of here. What's good, everybody? This is CP and welcome back to my NBA Fantasy series. Today I'll be talking about 5 of the more underrated fantasy players I wish I had on more of my teams this year. I like to call these players low-key fantasy monsters, in that they are very well-rounded and can put up above average numbers in multiple categories. And unlike LeBron and Giannis, these are non-flashy names that usually fly under the radar, so there's a chance that you can either pick them up through the waiver wire or acquire them through a very minor trade, which could be a game-changing move to help your team win it all this season. So without further ado, let's get it. In my opinion, Robert Covington is one of the most underrated category monsters out there today. Overall, he is one of those rare small forwards who can give you above average numbers in at least 5 categories. The most impressive thing is that he's averaging around 2 steals and 2 blocks per game this season, which are rare categories in fantasy basketball. On top of that, he is capable of hitting around 2 to 3 threes per game and is able to average double digits in points as well. He's not the best shooter and struggles with consistency at times, but when he is on his game, he is able to put up a very well-rounded stat line. I also really like the situation he is in Minnesota right now, and I think he has a great opportunity to put up even better numbers as the season goes on. Joe Ingles is another very well-rounded fantasy player you might want to target if you're looking for someone who can contribute in 4 or more categories. We all know that he can shoot threes as he averages around 2 triples per game, but what some people may not realize is that he averaged close to 5 assists per game last season, making him one of the best small forwards to go after if you are chasing assists. Ingles also averaged around 1 steal and over 4 rebounds per game, and if you add that to the 11 to 13 points he scores each game, I think Ingles has the potential to be the difference maker that gets you through close weeks. He is not the flashiest name, so there's a chance that you might be able to get him for a reasonable price in a trade during the season. At only 25 years old, Steven Adams is just entering his prime and is already a walking double-double. Fantasy-wise, his most dominant assets is his rebounding and high field goal percentage. With him on your roster, you don't have to worry much about those 2 categories every week. Depending on what type of league you play in, you might value Adams even more, as he led the NBA in offensive rebounds last year and is averaging over 5 per game this season. He is not a liability defensively either. He is averaging around 1.5 steals along with around 1 block per game. Unlike big-time names like Cat and Rudy Gobert, I still think Adams is a bit underrated as a fantasy center, but at the same time, he still has upside to put up elite numbers to compete with the best in the league. Overall, Adams is someone you might want to go after if you're looking for a solid big man who can give you steady numbers in at least 4 categories for the rest of the season. Alfred Payton may be battling with injuries this season, but at the same time, it might be a good time to buy low on him before he comes back. If you have an IR spot open, you might want to consider picking him up if he is available on the waiver wire. When healthy, Payton is a very productive fantasy player and one of the more underrated point guards. In some ways, his stats reminds me of a poor man's Russell Westbrook or a Ben Simmons, in that Payton has the ability to put up a triple-double. His assist numbers are always there, averaging around 6.4 assists per game his entire career. Add that to around 11 points and 1.3 steals a game, Payton should hold decent value in most leagues. Despite being a smaller player, the most impressive thing about his game is that he averaged over 5 rebounds per game last year. In a sense, this makes him the perfect guard to go after if you need some help in boards. Payton may not be a top-notch fantasy player, but I really like the situation he is in New Orleans. Once he returns from injury, he should get plenty of playing time and be the Pelicans' starting point guard. Finally, Danny Green is another low-key fantasy monster at the shooting guard position. He doesn't amaze you with his scoring, averaging only around 9 points per game this season, but his ability to contribute in multiple categories gives him the potential to be a huge difference maker. He can hit threes, get steals, and block shots. Green was the only shooting guard in the NBA to average over 1 block per game last year. He is also shooting over 40% from beyond the arc and is averaging almost 4 rebounds per game. At this point, Green looks like an important player in the Raptors rotation and should see at least 25 minutes a night. This makes him a rather valuable fantasy asset, especially in deeper leagues. Out of everyone on this list, he might be the most affordable player to go after if you are chasing threes and blocks. So that's a look at 5 non-flashy names you might want to go after, as they have potential to be huge difference makers and help your team win it all this year. If you enjoyed this video, please show me some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And that's it for today. I'll see everybody next time.